Ross Ulbricht is serving a double life sentence without parole for all nonviolent charges for creating a website. Please help free this peaceful man. Go to freeross.org and sign and share the petition.
So it's little wonder that smart shoppers everywhere take time out to pause and refresh. And where else but in the fountain where they serve ice-cold Coca-Cola?
The eMilitia Podcast, Episode 39, Voluntaryism in Action. Enjoy.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the eMilitia Podcast. I'm Bloody Revolutions, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Emperors of Meme and Resurrecting Freedom. And today, we're joined by Justin Glassman, Assistant Director of Voluntaryism in Action, and Jeff Perry, who's their Manager of Publishing. So welcome to the show, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
Thanks very much.
So this is your first podcast, which is always nice. Let's get people on who aren't on the circuit yet, but once you pop up in one place, I mean, you're going to be getting DMs and messages like, oh, didn't know you guys recorded. So expect that.
Hey, that's fine. We'll take them all.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's what we like to hear. So yeah, we're going to be getting into... so they run a charity organization, a libertarian-based charity organization, Voluntaryism in Action, which focuses on, of course, the principle of voluntarism, which is consent. Well, I don't know. How would you guys? I don't want to mess up your framing. How would you guys define voluntarism? Whoever wants to take it.
Well, that's a great question. And it was originally back in the 1700s in Britain. People were thinking of all of these, maybe people shouldn't be enslaved to the state kind of ideas. And one of them was a man named Auberon Herbert. And he kind of envisioned his principle that people should voluntarily choose to do things. And if they were forced or coerced into doing something, that wasn't moral. It made the person who was doing the coercing into a thief, a robber, etc. And he came up with he called them the principles of voluntarism. And there are three big ones that I like to focus on. One is self-ownership and private property of men and women. And another is that the state should compel no service and exact no payments by force. It should be completely voluntarily funded. And along with that, that all political burdens and restrictions on private property within the limit of non-aggression by force and fraud should just not be there. So very similar in a lot of ways to classic libertarianism, anarcho-capitalism, agorism. Just the focus is on the voluntary interactions between people.
Nice. I like it. Runs perfectly to, everyone's core beliefs in this community, I'd hope.
Yeah.
So how did you guys come to being libertarians, I guess? Let's focus on the individuals before we focus on the collective, I guess. So who wants to go first?
You can go ahead and start off, Jeff.
Oh, sure. So, no problem there, yeah. Growing up, I was kind of... Well, my parents were Republicans, just put it out there. But they raised me kind of conservative, but for a long time I was basically just the kind of, so the taxation is just the price we pay, kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Just because I didn't really think about anything, And I had some friends who were very very polite, but also very firm and very articulate in saying that no, taxation is theft and things shouldn't be this way. And for a while I was like, well, they're just kind of weird. But then I started thinking about it more, and they kept sharing these quotes from this person named Ayn Rand. I thought her name was Anne Rand for the longest time. But I love to read, and so she wrote books, and so I started reading some of her books, and I was like, whoa, this is really interesting. And started thinking about it more, and started reading Mises, and started reading Rothbard, and started reading Hoppe, and it was just downhill from there. I
The rabbit hole.
Yeah. But I couldn't, it was against most of the things that I had been taught or had just kind of implicitly believed growing up. But I couldn't think of any logical reason why they were wrong. I couldn't formulate anything that could take apart their arguments. And there was the kind of emotive stuff like, oh, people should care about each other. But they're not saying that you shouldn't care about each other. They're just putting some limits on it. And the more I read and the more I thought, now it just seems like it should be so obvious to everyone, even though it wasn't to me for the longest time.
It's that frustrating hurdle when you get over it and you're like, wait, why aren't you guys here? Like, I thought I was slow, but
Yeah. And then I look back and like, oh, did I really believe those things? Oh,
I know that feeling
Mhm.
all too well.
Oh, it is the. I think that every libertarian carries a certain guilt for how long they were a statist.
Yes, for sure.
The younger you realize, the less guilt you have, and the less elections you have under your belt, the less it hurts.
Very true. I kind of started out in the same pathway. My dad was a hardcore conservative for a long time. He was a fan of Bush and all them. And as I grew up and I got older, I started paying attention to things when I was about 22, 23, of course, like right after my first daughter was born. And I was always more on the conservatarian side of things. I didn't understand why you couldn't sit on your back porch and smoke a joint as long as you weren't, messing with your neighbor, or why you had to have certain laws and regulations on firearms when it's supposed to be, what's the famous saying?
Shall not be infringed.
Shall not be infringed, all laws. I mean, I personally believe anything up to McNukes, but we can argue on that. But as I got older and I was paying attention to things, the 2016 election came along, and that was the one that kind of, I think, rocked a lot of people's world, especially in the conservative side of things. We saw the Never Trump movement, which I was a part of up until it became, after he got elected. At that point, it's kind of done. It's already there. Some people just went way too far off the wall with that. But as I was watching the party and the way it was moving, it didn't seem to fit with my core values anymore. And the things that I believed in, the personal property. We were electing a man that believed in eminent domain strongly. That made absolutely no sense to me. The background, Trump's background was really one of the things that pushed me towards the libertarian side, because it was a big red flag that conservatism is not all that they crack it up to be. And libertarianism is much more akin to a philosophy that is nonviolent, believes more in the individual instead of throwing out collectives all the time, which that's something that both sides do, and that irks me, because I believe in the power of the individual more than anything. Like Jeff brought up earlier, Ayn Rand, and how she used to speak on how the individual is the most important minority, because without the power of the individual, nobody matters.
Right.
And it was things like that brought me towards libertarianism. That and kids, man. Kids, I'm telling you, they will change your philosophy in more ways than one.
It does make a difference for sure.
Well, when you're watching your government spend money on the backs of kids that haven't even been born yet, on top of the ones that you already have, it pushes you away from the state.
Mm-hmm.
See, and people would go out and say, the libertarian empathy problem. It's like, well, You know, honestly, most libertarians I know, the like the serious hardcore ones who are principled, they're some of the most empathetic people I know. You know, they're truly concerned not just for themselves, as most would suggest, but for people, you know, their great grandchildren, the great grandchildren of people they don't know. You know, the future.
Yeah. I think it comes down to thinking about it, because if you just look at the short term, just at what's seen, then you see, oh, they're getting money, that's good. But you have to look, like Bastiat said, at what's not seen. You can see that, oh, there's going to be inflation and there's going to be debt, and it's not going to be good in the long run.
Yep, you got to watch the left hand just as hard as you're watching the right.
Quite right.
Well, for me, it was kind of like before I had the kids, it didn't really matter because it was just me, and when I was dead, it was all over with. Now it's like, well, I'm trying to build a better life for my kids. Like, I've been seeing all this bull crap, political government overpowering for so many years, and I see it's not going anywhere, and I want them to have a better life. And if they want kids, I want their kids to have a better life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I could 100% agree with that. Especially when you're looking at, you know, your federal government with 23 trillion in debt. That number's probably not even right anymore because it changes so quick. Things like the 2 trillion stimulus plan that we just dropped. How long are we going to be paying for that? How many generations of American citizens are going to be paying for that because their government decided, you know what, we're going to give all this money away? And how we're going to pay for it? Oh, we're going to print it.
Yeah, and that's contrasting. I mean, we've put out one article, putting out a couple more soon, on the hundreds and hundreds of things that people are doing voluntarily to help try to fix the problems that people like to say the virus, but frankly, the government's response to the virus has caused for people.
So that's a good transition to get into. I mean, to take one step back, to take two steps forward. How did you two find yourselves a part of voluntarism in action?
Yeah, I've been in since we took it over. I've been in since the beginning. A lot of people don't know Voluntaryism in Action started out as a side project of Being Libertarian, and me and Logan is our executive director. We were part of Being Libertarian for a couple of years, and the way that I was first introduced is my second daughter was born with clubfoot. A lot of people don't know what clubfoot is. Real easy to explain. Most people are born with their feet straight. My daughter Sawyer was born with her feet turned inward, so she wouldn't have been able to walk. She needed reconstructive surgery. After some complications and getting her treatment at home, we had to go to St. Louis. To make a long story short, didn't have the funds to fly back and forth because it was going to have to be like eight visits within a 2-month period. So flights back and forth, hospital bills, hotel, all the works. So my wife and I decided to try to get some help through family and friends. We started to GoFundMe, and unbeknownst to me, some of my friends over at Being Libertarian put the Sawyer's story up on Voluntaryism in Action. Well, within a short period of time, we were able to raise $10,000 thanks to VIA and our buddies over at Being Libertarian. And that was really my first big introduction, my, how you want to put it, seeing the light, so to speak, on what voluntarism really was. And it spurred me to want to do more within the organization. Well, later on, Being Libertarian asked Logan if he wanted to take VIA on his own, and he asked me to help him out with it. And so I started the assistant director position then, about somewhere in 2018. We became an official 501c3 in 2019. And since, we've been able to raise a little over $180,000 for various campaigns and organizations.
That's awesome. All from a Facebook meme page. I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Not to discredit Being Libertarian. I've been a massive fan for years, and they actually helped me sort of finalize a lot of my my positions. But seeing it kind of grow alongside the page, and to know it's got that big and it's official freestanding now. That's awesome.
Yeah, we decided that VIA needed to be more than just a side project. It can be a beacon of liberty, an example of how things could be and how things could be so much better than the system that we have now.
I got involved through my wife, Sarah. She was the first one in, and she was commenting on the Facebook page, and she was helping him out, sharing things. And Justin or Logan, the executive director, said, "Hey, you're doing a lot. Why don't you join the group?" And so she did, and now she's part of the board of directors, and she was doing stuff all the time for VIA, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then she said, you should do something too. You're pretty good at writing." And I was like, maybe. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll go for it." And then they kind of just roped me in after that, and I just kept writing, and like, I could do the Twitter too, and could send stuff out on there. And so, and then Logan got me into, you should publish stuff yourself on the website instead of just writing it. And so he roped me into that, and not coercive, but suddenly I'm doing a lot more than I was at first.
It was voluntary.
It's been great though.
Good stuff. So I guess a good next question would be, what's the kind of core things you do? I mean, so helping out with operations is a big one. I've seen that you guys kind of do like community support. What are like your core kind of fundraising things that you do?
Well, we do various types of fundraisers. A lot of times it just kind of depends on the situations going around the country or around the world. Like the Australia wildfire situation, for example, that was nowhere on our radar. And when we saw what was going on there, we knew we had to step in and try to do our part. There was, let's see, the COVID crisis that's going on now with the coronavirus. We saw an opportunity to try to help others, and we knew that we would be able to do more in a quicker period of time than the government has. And to be honest with you, we've already helped, I think, somewhere between 75 kids already, and with many more, hopefully. We have the funds to help if anybody needs it. They just need to reach out. And that's all while, Congress has been arguing and about a stimulus. While they're sitting there in the comfy chairs, we're emailing people back and forth, trying to get them gift cards for however we can. We try to do things as personal as we can, and not so much, what's the word I'm looking for?
Like blanket solutions.
Yeah. We don't want to just, hey, here's a Visa gift card, good luck. We try and talk to people, interact with them, see how we can help them the most.
Yeah. In fact, before this latest crisis, we were trying to get self-sufficiency supplies for people who are homeless or jobless, so that instead of just handing them a check, like Justin said, you could try to get them so they could establish themselves, have a job, get a place to stay, instead of being on the street and just, now I've got a check to get some food.
We want to uplift people. We don't want to just put Band-Aids on. We're trying to uplift them and get them out of the situation that they're in.
Mm-hmm. And I think part of that goes back to our core philosophy of the voluntarism, because if all you're doing is just giving someone a check for money or food, whatever, then that creates a kind of dependency possibly on a private charity, but usually on the government. And that's very, very dangerous, not only for everyone else, but for even their status as a human. If you're dependent on someone else completely, then you're either a child or you're a slave. And that's not something that we want people to be.
The surest way to liberty is through self-independence.
Absolutely. That's when I saw the quote, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime on your website. I was like, that's 100% the way I think all charities should really operate. Focus on uplifting someone and giving them direction rather than just handing them something and leaving. Like it's good for a quick Instagram photo to be like, hey, we gave these kids. I don't know if you guys have seen the South Park episode where they give like African children iPads or something, and they're just sort of sitting around like, what do we do with
What
this?
do I do with this now?
But actually setting someone up for success, you're not like babying them, but you're giving them the tools rather than the whole package. And I don't know if that phrasing sounds great, but it's the guidance people need in the startup rather than making them dependent, which quite right, it puts them, it's not uplifting them, it's kind of making them more vulnerable.
In some ways, private people like to say, oh, you're after profit, that's a bad thing. But a lot of for-profit businesses, I've noticed, have been doing amazing things, not to just give out money, but to try to keep people employed so that, the people can have money, but so they can also keep making money during this crisis. I can't remember the name, it's going to be in the article we're putting out, but the parent company of Olive Garden, they're changing their business model to try to figure out how they can keep operating, keep people employed, even with all these awful things the government has done, instead of just, we'll give them a check to get through however long the government is going to keep us shut down. They're trying to get around it to keep people employed, that they can keep serving people, keep getting money, and keep paying their employees.
Yeah, I mean, quite
so
possibly
they
the
want a
most harmful
sustainable model for helping people out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we don't know how long this crisis is going to go on for, and you see a lot of companies, the ones who aren't, putting in the effort to find solutions to this issue, they're just like, well, the government's gonna they're gonna bail us out, and they're gonna give all of our employees checks, so we don't have to look after them. It's like and people who think that's the solution and getting angry when companies are trying to help out their people, I don't understand that at all. But that's definitely the way to go. Again, equipping people for success rather than outsourcing your issues to someone else. And end of the day, that entity is someone who uses help by gunpoint.
Yeah. I mean, it could be even worse. I forget the company. I think it was one of the airliners. They took a check from the government saying we won't lay anybody off until like September 30th or something like that. And then as soon as after the stimulus was announced, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to be laying people off after September 30th. It's like, what?
Thanks for the help, government.
Yeah, right. I really appreciate it.
Oh, God.
At least now I got a heads up, I guess.
Yeah. we see a lot of people saying, big evil capitalists and all this kind of thing, but and then a lot of people kind of struggling to. A lot of people in our community, we have so much energy. People want to be out there doing stuff. How do we stress the importance of activism in our community for people who? They have the energy, they have the money, they have the time, but they don't know what to do. Where would you send them? What would you advise them to do?
Best advice if you want to help is to get as local as possible. Find a local charity. Find a local group that you can volunteer with. Get a group of buddies and do something. If you see a problem, get a group of friends, like-minded friends. Try to tackle it yourself. And if you don't know, there's nothing wrong with ever asking questions, ever. Sometimes we got to ask people questions to see how the best way to address something, or we're bouncing things off of one another. There's several ways to actually help other than just donating. One of the biggest things about voluntarism is not just giving money to a charity. It's putting in the time to try and actually help on the ground. Like we did last Thanksgiving, we did a food drive. We gave out numerous canned goods and whatnot to those that needed it. We had a drive to help the homeless in Detroit. Gave out winter care packages to them with blankets, coats, gloves, anything you could think of if you're going to be outside a lot during the winter. there's numerous ways that people can help. It's just you got to get out and try and do it.
Oh yeah, what I loved was during the government shutdown. It might have been you guys, or it might have been a separate libertarian. I'm pretty sure it was you guys. I saw people going out and volunteering to clean up the national parks because they're shut down. No one's going to be maintaining them, and they were quite happy to be out there, picking up trash and maintaining things, trying to keep them open until they were told to leave.
I'd love to say that was us, but I can't take credit for that.
I might have been being libertarian. I saw someone post about it in our circle. But anyway, people were out there, it doesn't cost really anything beside, having a rake and maybe some trash bags and stuff. And then you can volunteer your time rather than, sending hundreds of bucks someone's way. So yeah, like you said, plenty of ways to get involved and help out it's not just bankrolling a cause. Sometimes it's just giving some time and a few hours and showing up.
Absolutely. Now, don't get me wrong. If there's some rich CEO out there that wants to, help us get to the next step, I won't turn it down.
Hell yeah.
But at the same time, as on an individual level, there's a lot more that people can do than they realize.
Absolutely.
That's true. And it always seems, like you said, that the government is the one stopping that from happening, along with all the great stuff that's been happening during this shutdown. I've also read a lot of stories about people who have been trying to help, giving away food, who now the stores are closed, their kids don't have anything to eat, and the government has shown up and said, you don't have a license to do that. You have to stop. But thanks a lot, government. Yeah.
And then they'll even pour bleach on the food.
Oh, yeah.
They used anymore.
Things like that break my heart.
I know.
I don't understand how somebody could actually do that. Okay, I understand if you're sitting in an office somewhere and you don't ever see these people, okay, but there's no way I'd ever be able to look at somebody that was obviously hungry and pour bleach on food.
They're just doing their job, Justin.
No, man. I can't. No.
just trying to get home safe, man.
Look, there's other occupations out there. I'm sorry.
And you had some questions?
So my friend Anna and I, we looked into creating a bail fund, for people who get sent to jail and can't pay their bail. But we aren't really sure, how do you guys distribute the money without people getting mad at you for if you distribute it to one person and not the other? How do you guys decide that?
So how do we pick campaigns? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have two separate ways that we do campaigns. We have our main ones that we put up on our main page, like the one that we did for the COVID crisis, the Australian wildfire, the one we did for the victims of the mass shootings. Those are our main ones. We have other ones that come from what's known as our VIA community, which is a little community that we have on Facebook. Now, we let individuals, if they have a crisis, a personal crisis going on in their lives, or if they know somebody that needs some help or something, we'll send them to the community, and a lot of times they'll post it to the community, and sometimes we feature those on our main page. Now, and we call those our community causes. Now, some do better than others. Some do really well, and they fill all the way up. Some don't get any. It's unfortunately, it's kind of what happens with charity. People give to what they want to give to, which is awesome in one aspect. And the other aspect, we're working on ways that we can help those people more as an organization where it's a 65-year-old man that has cancer. Unfortunately, that's not going to go as well with the general public as a child. That's unfortunately just how the world works. But we would like to do more as an organization to help those that can't get so much through our VIA community. Now, towards your question, if you're trying to make a bail and you're trying to figure out if you bail out this guy because he had a marijuana charge versus this guy that had a gun charge, is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. This is just me, especially if it was an organization that I made, I would tell people, look, we have a certain amount of funds we can only do so much with. We try to do the most that we can with the money that we are able to raise. Unfortunately, it was in our best interest to help this one. If we can help you in any other way, we can send you to another organization. We can try to find other means of getting you bail, that sort of thing. You want to try to be personal, but and kind, but at the same time, you have to you have to look at what you're doing as an organization, because if you fail, you're not going to be able to help anybody, which is something we had to look at as a 501c3 ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And I would add that as far as getting the funds in the first place, especially like within the Liberty community, it helps to kind of tailor the message. Like, for example, a person got arrested on a marijuana charge. Well, point out that this is something that shouldn't happen at all. The government is not giving him his natural rights, wasn't hurting anybody. And that's going to get a lot more people, not only on your side, but even some normies, so-called, to start thinking, why did he get arrested? They're ruining this guy's life for just smoking a plant. What's going on here?
Your message and how you raise money is a big thing too. How you word things. You have to really know your audience. You gotta just like, I hate to put it this way, but just like for business organization, they have to know who they're selling to. Well, you have to know who you're asking money from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It goes back to principles of the free market that our good friends Mises and Hayek and Rothbard laid out, is that people, they want to see, you could call it a return on their investment. That they're just investing in kind of the that good feeling that you get when you help someone out. And the better you can make them feel for having helped someone out, chances are the more they're going to contribute to your campaign. So like for us, we try to focus on people who are likely to get help from the voluntary liberty community. Like I said, try to focus on building them up, and we try to show people whenever we can, this is what happened because of your donations, because of what you gave. This is how we were able to help this person. And that kind of reinforces the purchase, I guess you could say, of our services to help these people.
That change is being made.
Yeah, and if you can get follow-up stories on those, that'll help you out big time too.
Oh, absolutely. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the shooting of Duncan Lemp recently, the Red Flag Raid.
I've read the story. I don't know all the ins and outs, but I know the story. Yes.
Gotcha. So recently, our community, because we're on Instagram, it's very heavily sort of 2A centric liberty community. So a lot of people are very concerned about this happening to them. So there was a fundraiser for both legal costs for the family trying to fight posthumously the charges against him and trying to clear his name, as well as and maybe get some compensation for what's happened to him, as well as for funeral costs.
Right.
And being so relevant to people, because this could be any of us. You post the wrong meme in the current climate, and your door's getting kicked in. And
100%.
The reaction we saw from a community, we've had pretty good luck with raising funds for these kind of things, and it's absolutely the framing. It really does make a difference. Anything relevant to our cause that's like you said, value of purchase. If the trial goes well enough, it could have ramifications for how red flag laws are dealt with everywhere. And so, just important to bring it home, really, as you were saying.
Yeah, and I think that that goes back to what you were saying before about activism, and kind of both of our stories about how we came to liberty, and probably everyone's, is if you don't say anything about things like that, then no one thinks about it, and that becomes the new normal.
Yeah.
And that's not what we want to see. Like with the things that are happening now over on the east side of the country, I think was it Rhode Island? They're now going door to door looking for people from New York.
Yeah.
That's not some 1984 stuff. I don't know what is.
Also some 1940s stuff. Yeah.
Hiding some New Yorkers in your attic. And
Yeah.
if you don't say anything, then that becomes just what people accept. And so you got to speak up, got to say, no, this isn't right. Even if people don't believe you or don't say they believe you, some people out there are going to hear and they're going to listen.
So, sort of changing tone a little bit. We've got some listener questions, and one of them was, what should we be looking for in terms of, or looking out for when it comes to charities? Like if they're, because we do see people occasionally take advantage of our community and others, and just running off with money. How do we vet a charity before we invest in them, basically?
There's a couple of different ways. You can go the more traditional route of checking out on the Better Business Bureau, I believe it is. We're not quite large enough to be on there yet, but there are other ways to vet a nonprofit. There are actual organizations that's what they do. We are rated on one of them. I can't remember what the name of it is. Logan knows which one it is, but we have been rated. Now, there's another way. You can actually try to see what work they've done, like in the past, what type of work they do. Do they have actual photos of doing that kind of work on the ground? Do they have people that they've helped? Do they have any kind of background story? Does it seem actually believable? A lot of times your gut feeling is your number one thing. If something just doesn't feel right, like anytime I look at the Red Cross, I just don't feel right trying to donate to them. So I don't.
Yeah, right on. And that's your consent or your lack of it.
and that's what we tell a lot of people, that because sometimes we do get, hate mail or however you want to put it. You guys are just making more needy people, or whatever some old boomer conservative wants to say. And a lot of times we tell them, look, that's how you feel. We understand. Sorry you feel that way. You don't have to give us our money. That's the beautiful thing about consent.
Yeah.
We're not the government. We're not going to put a gun to your head.
Yeah.
If you don't want to give us your money, that's fine. If you do, we greatly appreciate it. We promise you it's going to get spent the best way we can. But, if not, it is what it is.
Worst case scenario, there's an education in there for them.
Right. And that's one thing that I like about our VIA community is it is prominently voluntarist / libertarian, but occasionally we'll have some people that come on that they're a normie. They know what a Republican is ish. They know what a Democrat is ish. But they've never really been introduced to libertarianism. Well, if their first introduction is, a group of random strangers on the internet helping out, some poor kid, or helping with the tornadoes in Nashville, Tennessee that just went through, or feeding kids from the COVID crisis. Oh, this looks like a good idea. I can maybe get behind. Let me check into it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, that is one of the greatest tools for liberty. Like, because a lot of people are going to be sharing your various charitable actions and stuff on their social media, and it's going to be the first time, like you said, they might be completely apolitical, or only leaning one way or the other a tiny bit, and they see you guys are like, oh, this is great. And once they start getting involved, I mean, they see the principles at work, which is my favorite thing in the world, rather than just bitching on the internet. We actually have, success stories and happy endings and all these awesome uplifting things which we so desperately need.
Oh, yes.
And you guys are just one of my favorite examples of that out there at the minute.
Thanks.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. Like I said earlier, watching you guys grow, it's something bright.
And there's more to come.
I love it.
The future is bright for this organization, and it's awesome. I can't even put into words, because this has been a long time coming. There's things are really starting to pop off now, and we're really excited with it.
So that's a good thing to get into. So what are you guys working towards, if there's anything you can talk about? Any current goals or sort of things that you're ramping up for?
Right now, we're really focused on the COVID project, just because of the pandemic that's going on right now. We're hoping in sometime within the next 6 months, really depending on how this pandemic thing goes. We had a project that Jeff was talking about earlier, where we want to go to back to Detroit and try to help some of those that are there and uplift them and try to get them in a position where they're no longer living on the streets. They're able to work on their own. They're able to pay their own expenses. Really a project that's an example of uplifting people and taking them from their worst time and getting them to a point where they're completely independent and on their own.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm. And tech side, we've been trying for a long time to start to break into kind of the podcast and video recording, animation type scene. And it's been a long time coming. Most of us have jobs and families too, and this is just what we do on the side to help people. So it's been taking a while, but we're getting close. And we've also been looking, we call him our chief geek, Alan Gannon. He's really into computer stuff, 3D printing, and he's been looking into some really cool stuff, getting 3D printed masks and PPE for people during the COVID crisis, even big scale, like 3D printing mini homes for people who don't have a place to live.
And I believe I might be jumping the gun on this, but we're going to possibly be looking into 3D printing prosthetics, depending on the wonderful aspect of paperwork and government. I know that's a dream of Alan's, and hopefully we can do it at some point in the future, because I know right now he's printing up masks as we speak, which is really cool, and he's gotten some help with that through the organization. So that's been really cool too. Now Jeff and Sarah, they've been ramping up our, and this is something I'm personally excited about, our publishing department. We've been putting out articles left and right, depending whether it's just, the philosophy behind voluntarism or the current crisis that's happening now with the COVID and the coronavirus. What they're doing there, driving traffic to our website, it's just been awesome. I know Sarah's not on right now, but she's awesome. She's one of my favorites. I'm glad she brought Jeff on. It's what they've done since they've been brought on. It's just been fantastic.
Aww. Well, we've got a couple more coming up. One at least this weekend, and hopefully another next week. Like I said, about just the amazing things that private people, down from individuals to companies and big organizations, are doing to help people, while the government, like you said, Justin, is arguing about how much debt future generations should have.
Right.
How much of a raise they're giving themselves.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
People are dying. Give me a raise.
Yeah.
Don't you see how hard
I
I'm working?
need a new Gucci purse.
I was just saying, I heard the clap emojis in that. Don't worry.
Just saying, you guys were really fast at getting the coronavirus campaign, I guess, set up. Like one of the first ones I saw in any community.
We saw that. Logan and I were talking about it, and we decided we needed to go ahead and hop on it, because we knew that it was going to take Congress and all them, weeks, months. We didn't know how long it was going to take for them to try to help anybody. And we didn't want any kids to go hungry. So we decided to go ahead and throw that up. And I think we raised the $15,000 in less than 48 hours, which was insane. It was awesome. You want to talk about a free dopamine rush? That's it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I was amazed. I was amazed too. I was at work, I think. And by the time I saw we used the Teams, Microsoft Teams, you keep track of everything, and things started falling, and we were all pretty angry about it. Government shutting everything down. People are going to lose money, start to go hungry. And by the time I got back from work, they had already got everything set up. And I was like, whoa, You guys are
That's
amazing.
incredible.
In those
Yeah,
first few days, people were like really ready to give to all kinds of charities, and you guys like predicted it well enough that you got in there. And now people are more worried about money and probably less likely. So it's really great that you were just on it.
Yeah.
Maybe
And that's
so.
one reason why we're trying, because we don't know how long this pandemic is going to go. We're going back and forth on whether we are going to try to reopen the fundraiser again. But that'll all depend on how long things are shut down across the country and stuff like that. But like you said, people are going to be looking at the market and stuff now. They're going to be a little tighter on the purse, which I completely understand. I'm going through that right now myself. But we would still like to try to help as many as we can through this entire pandemic.
And in a way, I think that makes it even more important to jump in and let people know, hey, there are voluntary solutions. You shouldn't be, and you don't have to be relying on the government to take care of you. We can take care of each other.
Absolutely. What I really love about this community. Oh, sorry. Reza?
And better.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
What I really love about this community, whenever you see a fundraiser, you'll see like the dollar amounts that roll in. A lot of people, they presume, libertarians, we're all filthy rich capitalists and we're just selfish and greedy. But you'll see, we're not all like sitting on bags of money, Scrooge McDuck style. Like some of us are paycheck to paycheck, and you'll see that reflected in these donations. You'll see like $2, $5 rolling in, and then some people $100, $500, like just insane donations, and it really shows just kind of the diversity of the situations, of people's lives in this community. People come from all sorts of backgrounds, and all of us are just coming together to give what we can, whether it's a little or a lot, to help out people without force involved, and I love that so much.
And it's great being part of the community that pushes that.
Yeah, it's really
Absolutely.
amazing. What we hope is that more people start to realize that can be the rule instead of the exception.
Yeah. I think this crisis got a lot of people really reanalyze the efficiency of government, and hopefully more people are turning and seeing how quickly you guys are doing this. I mean, we even have, the newer libertarians are sort of very hesitant about this, like, oh, well, how would this be handled if we didn't have dear government? It's like, it's probably a lot quicker, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think we were getting relief to people within days of the pandemic really breaking out, and they just passed the stimulus, a day or two ago?
I think yesterday, and they're still kind of arguing about it. I don't know if it's passed or if it's still, I don't know where it's at.
I'm pretty sure it's passed, and such a small percentage of the money that is supposed to go to help people is actually going to help.
It really is.
Congress gave themselves like $25 million for raises.
Yep.
Yeah,
I want to say, I think Amash had tweeted something out about it, that if they had actually gave out the entire $2 trillion stimulus to people, each person would get like a $68,000 check or something. I can't remember what it was. It was something insane.
Each household of 4 would get almost 70,000.
So I was close. Oh.
Yeah. So I guess we can move towards wrapping this up. Anyone else have any questions? Anything they want to talk about?
I don't know. You got anything, Jeff?
I do not think so. No.
Let's run through all your Facebook and Twitter and all that. I don't think we had that recorded.
Our Facebook is Voluntaryism in Action. Our Twitter is at Act Voluntarily. And our Instagram, I believe, is the same thing. Actually, I don't know that off the top of my head.
So it is Voluntaryism in Action. Yep. All connected. No dots.
Okay, that's the Instagram. All right, yeah. Yeah, Callie runs our Instagram. She's our sole, one of our other people on our team, but she's our sole Instagrammer, so to speak.
Gotcha.
And then our website is viaction.org.
And where can we find you guys?
My personal Facebook is just Justin Glassman, Glassman. I know there's a naughty word in the last name. My Twitter, if anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, is at jfilman0206. Yeah, at jfilman, JPHILMAN0206. And I'm occasionally on Twitter if anybody wants to hit me up there.
Gotcha. And Jeff?
Mine, I haven't been on Facebook in so long.
Well, don't worry about it if you're like not, a public.
Yeah. I think I'm just Jeff Perry on Facebook. Can't even remember. And Twitter, I just do the VIA page. Twitter, I have to. It's a garbage fire over there sometimes, so I don't.
That's why I'm so glad you took it over.
Yeah, I don't get it on my own because people are just they're just crazy. I think I haven't used my own Twitter thing in a couple of years. So,
I don't even think you added me as a friend on Twitter.
Oh man,
I don't use it anymore.
I didn't have a personal Twitter page until I don't have a personal Twitter. I just made the BR account and that's it. So
yeah, see.
It is man. It's a hellhole.
it is 100% a dumpster fire.
But
I mean, I got up to almost 7,000 followers on Twitter. At the point where I was just like, I can't do it anymore.
If there's nothing going on, like, I guess there's probably always an emergency going on. Is there a way to just donate to the VIA directly? Like
100%. You can become a monthly donor, a yearly donor. Our website, I believe it's right on the front page, where you become a reoccurring donor, and that would help us out in more ways than one. We're actually trying to boost our reoccurring donors. That way, in situations, if something happens where somebody's battery breaks out in their car or something, we can help more on an individual level and also grow as an organization, because that's our main goal. We want to one day rival the Red Cross.
I would love that.
That'd be amazing.
It really would. I mean, it's a big goal. We're shooting high. If we don't get all the way up there, better than where we were 2 years ago.
Yeah,
What's
we'll
that
get to help
saying
some
about-
people along the way.
Absolutely.
What's that saying about shooting for the star or shooting for the moon, and if you miss, you'll hit the stars? Cheesy,
Right.
but appropriate.
Yeah, 100%.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's everything.
Mhm.
Right. Well, hoping for all the best. I love how big you guys are getting. I hope it's only only on the up, and I'm sure it will be when we see more stories about how this is all going. As more people see your ongoing donations and stuff. I think it's only gonna get bigger and better.
And we can't wait.
All right.
Yeah, we're gonna keep trying. Like we said with the Twitter, it's a dumpster fire, but
It's not dumpster fire.
yeah, but if you don't say anything, then no one's ever gonna know that voluntarism and liberty is the better solution. So just got to keep putting it out there.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are messengers for the movement and for such a righteous cause. So thanks for coming on again.
Hey, we
Thank you
appreciate
very
it.
much. Yeah, it's been great.
Thanks for having us.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.